The Office of the President, the Diaspora and Office of at the Office of the President, conceptualizing a multi-stakeholder dialogue on the finalization of the diaspora engagement policy. It's been a talk that's been going on for a very, very long time. I've been joined in studio by the director at that desk, Mr. Kwesi Ewa Ababu. He's the director there. He joins me now in studio. Chief, good morning. Good to see you again.
Good morning.
Looking sharp as always.
I'm trying to be like you. Thank you.
The first time we met, you had some a very impressive bracelet. I wanted to take it.
Oh, great.
But I couldn't. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very, very fine. And
how's the office doing? The Diaspora office at the presidency.
We are doing as well as we can. I know we could do better, but for COVID, so we are trying all the best, despite the circumstances, despite the restrictions, despite all the frustrations, to take off from where we last time,
right,
before COVID struck. And working closely with our partners in business, in government, and the private sector, we hope that we can,
let's
pump it up.
Let's do a bit of a throwback and look at some of the key stuff that you have done from the Diaspora office at the Office of the President, the key initiatives that you have done to bring our brothers back home.
Yes, of course, you would then readily mention the year of return.
Right.
But in addition, there was a specific one that was directed at the Ghanaians, the diaspora, which was the homecoming.
Okay.
That has been going on for quite some time. We first did it in 2017.
Right.
And then we did it in 2019. Quite apart from that, we have been working, supporting other initiatives. And the recent one that is in the pipeline will be supporting the Ga Dangbe homecoming. And we've also been working closely with some philanthropic organizations to undertake so many, programs all throughout the country. Some boreholes, some doing, things like providing medical care at Ridge Hospital and La Hospital, going up north to provide health care to some of the needed, people who needed the services of people like that.
Right.
And then generally organizing the Ghanaian diaspora community, we partnered with GIPC in this recent Ghana Investment Forum that took place, about 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So yes, we've been working all along
all around.
Yes.
I know that you've been having a series of dialogues, trying to let that partnership that you sought to solidify stand the test of time. Now you want to do a multi-stakeholder engagement or a dialogue. Why do you want to do that?
We really feel it is about time that Ghana, with its diverse and a huge diaspora community, when you add to it that we have all those historical diaspora community as well, then we really have a big asset out there that we really need to have some directive, some direction, some agreed policy framework within which the multitude of people who are working towards, engaging them would have that harmonious and, coordinated approach. And therefore, the need for some basic policy framework. And that is what we have been consulting on, making sure that all views are taken on board. So when we are going to meet at Kwau next week, we are bringing together all government organizations that have got to interface with the diaspora one way or the other, and all the private sector, the NGOs, all the people who have got any interest in the diaspora, with all our sponsors, benefit of GIZ, Germany, and through their program of migration, we are working with them, which is PMD, Program Migration Development. We are working with them to make sure that this policy can be discussed wholly and holistically to enable us to arrive at some very useful document that we can present to Parliament. And we can present to cabinet, hopefully, adored by the president, and to become a framework within which the multiple things that have been taking place for the diaspora can be, situated.
I see.
For instance, we know about the pillars that we have already launched. That is basically defining clearly what needs to be done, and these things have to sit in a bigger,
Context,
framework of what needs to be done.
You are also talking about bringing people together. But for example, how do we build capacity so that our friends and brothers and sisters who are coming from the diaspora can find that smooth synergy with those of us here so that we can forge together our capacities and make sure that Ghana is the bigger beneficiary?
I think your question clearly defines what we are setting ourselves to do.
Right.
So that when we have come up with a policy and which would also, among others, determine the organizational framework, the organizational structures that should be set in to enable this to happen.
Right.
It would enable this process to be apparent, to be transparent, and to be well defined. So that is where we are heading for, to make sure that when this has all been done, the subsequent road, shows and the road and the things, the sensitization programs that we would undertake will let the diaspora community know what their obligations and and what their rights are, and what as a country we would also be doing in respect of what the policy envisages, and that basically would enable everyone to know mutual benefits for the diaspora and for the country, knowing that there's an asset that sits there that has got such a huge value. I mean, you talk about the remittances, and that's just a fraction of what we can have. The network and the other resources that are at their disposal that they can bring home is what we are aiming at, and that is basically why we want to do what you just asked for, to make sure that there's a structure there, they can identify, they can come into it, and we know how it works.
In all of this mix, Mr. Abebio, you would also find that people will generate their own kind of information and put it out there. Some poison the whole process, some if you like, energize the whole process. What's your plan to make sure that this information generation and dissemination is properly guarded to achieve what you're looking for?
I think that once we have the right agencies and the right accredited bodies and entities working within the space, within a guided guidelines, that is how we are going to be able to control and to be able to guide these issues that you talk about.
Right.
So, for instance, at the moment there is that wild stories out there that if you come to Ghana as a diasporian, you get lined, you do this for free, etc. Once we have the right organization in place, we would be able to let people know that this is how we are dealing with this issue of those who are coming in, that it is the benefit that some chiefs have decided to give for those who are coming into that, as an attraction into their specific area, that land is being offered, and that it is not just a government policy of offering free lands for those who are coming. So we need to have the right kind of institutions working and being coordinated right from where it needs to be coordinated from, which is what the policy would be advising on, to have that in place, and not just something that would be varying from time to time. So as we have been approaching our diaspora engagement, it's you would take it as far back as when the MPP was last in government, and we had a ministerial role for the diaspora relations.
That's right.
Jacob
That's right.
And then it disappeared, and then we had this diaspora, bureau at the foreign affairs, and now the diaspora affairs office that have diaspora unit at the GIPC. We have GTA and Ministry of Culture all working towards diaspora. So there's that sort of thing that we need to really put it within a bigger framework of how things should be done. And I guess this stakeholder consultation is going to provide us that opportunity to talk about this. And
we'll come to the venue and how many days you're going to spend on our small London. And also,
very small,
and also what takeaways you would want to leave with us. But somebody threw in the idea of, for example, our brothers and sisters come from the diaspora. We let them connect with real families here and, for example, inject them into our, our setup family. So Mr. Abibio comes from the United States, for example. I live at Obome, or I live down here at Jamestown. There's a family, and he is adopted into the family, and he gets, a real Ghanaian name, and he feels really part of it and takes a piece of Ghana with him. Is there a plan like that?
Yes, I think this is, I suppose you're talking about the historical
Absolutely.
African community that we are also, through the policy of, through the initiative program of return, etc., getting them to do. I'm happy to say that for now, there are individual private sector roles that are being played. Like, for instance, taking some of them to the Ghana community, naming them and giving them the blessings and the, all the things that enable you to be initiated into the communities. This is happening already.
Okay.
So it is basically how you get it controlled and organized. Some are even looking to see how they can perform certain rites and certain things to enable you to answer to certain inquiries, to really identify where you really belong. So people are doing all sorts of things. So there is that need to have it all, properly on the surface, controlled, and also put out there in the public for people to know what is to be done, when one has come to.
When
the families are there, ready
there
for, people to be accepted into their communities.
I see. When do we begin this thought leadership program and the platform, the dialogue? When?
We begin on the 2nd of August.
2nd, okay.
Yes, and in fact, we arrive at the London City, as you call it, the Rock City.
Rock City.
I think we've chosen to go to the Rock City, which is the mountains, to be right on top there on the mountain. If you put your light on the mountain, it shines for people to see. So, with the benefit of what they have there, we are hoping that the participants will have the best of time to concentrate on the assignments that we want to undertake.
Okay.
And from the 2nd, when we arrive, we will begin working on the 3rd, all the way to the 6th when we leave the place. So enough time to really have a look at the document. It's interesting that we should know that this document has been in the offing for quite some time.
Okay.
It really began with during the PND's era, when it was supposed to be taken through. We have come and had a look at it again and had the opportunity to do further consultation, including, visiting some of the delegates, the diaspora in their own communities. The initial work has also been done across the countries. This relationship is not just about the diaspora; it's about their, interface with the host country,
bouncing off both the homeland and the diaspora. So the
consultation had involved also, bringing all at that time, the 10 regions into play to, have all those useful discussions. So
I see.
Very much has been.
Great. So then quickly, your closing thoughts. That's your camera right there. Maybe you want to say thank you to your partners and throw out an invitation to those who would want to join you as well. Is it open, by the way?
Yes, it's open to those who are invited.
Those who are invited, absolutely. I like that. So that's your camera right there.
Thank you. I think we must be... we are honored as an office to be working, having this great partnership we have with the GIZ Ghana, which is working on behalf of the German government, and through their program of program migration and diaspora, which is the PMD. This organization has been very helpful. They are the ones who are making sure that we have all the people gathered at the same place to be able to have this useful discussion. In the past, there have been other organizations that have played a role to bring this document to where it is, like the Spanish government. And then, of course, our own governments have also been very helpful. Current the support that we enjoy from our chief of staff and our government and everyone in the offices has brought us to where we are, and we are excited that we can take it further to leave a legacy for our country.
Thank you very much. Very grateful. And I wish you all the best in your deliberations as you climb onto the small London. I wish I would have been there. I should have been there, but work would take me away from it. But we'll be following closely and we'll bring you the fine detail as you find it. That's Mr. Akwesi Ewa Ababio. He is the Director of Diaspora Affairs at the Office of the President here. And if you heard it, spread the word. And let's all connect and benefit from it mutually and raise the flag of Ghana high. We'll see you after the break.